I'm Mark McCarthy with the Star Herald, and welcome to Table Talk. Our guest today is Raymond Gonzales, Mayor of Scottsbluff. Thanks for joining us, Raymond.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here with you.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what led you first to the city council and then to become mayor.
City government's always something that interested me from way back when. Did the Leadership Scottsbluff class, served on the Chamber of Commerce board. Actually, my first elected office was the Western Mass Community College Board of Governors. But my long term had always was to be on city council, to be part of the city council and the things that they could do for the city. As far as the mayor, former Mayor Meininger stepped away from council last year. The council, several council members, new and some of the existing ones, asked me to run for mayor, supported my candidacy. So that's why I'm here.
What do you see as the city council's role in shaping the policy of the community?
I think it's working in conjunction with their city manager. I think part of that is doing their homework, researching, asking the questions, tying themselves in the community, but then working with the city manager and helping shape policy for the city in conjunction with the vision that they've laid out. So it's a working together process.
What's the biggest challenge of that?
I think sometimes you may have some that need to separate policy and management. City manager, we have a city manager form of government, manages the city, that's his job, he's a chief executive officer, and I think it's just a fine line of knowing, this is policy, this is management. So I think, it's understanding how that works.
So the city's budget is coming up. What do you see as the priorities for that, and how does the council evaluate those priorities and set those each year?
I think first and foremost right now, especially in the financial situation we're in, is maintaining, getting our basic needs taken care of, police, fire, library, the parks, taking care of the parks. So that is funded out of the general fund through sales taxes. Our sales tax have declined and are trying to stabilize, but just not happening to the level we wanted to. They are down. So that's going to be the priority, making sure that component of the budget is first and foremost before anything else.
How do you come up with different possibilities for creating more revenue?
We've looked at raising occupation tax. I know Nathan Johnson, city manager Johnson, has floated out raising a fireworks tax, sales tax, to generate more revenue. So our general fund is basically dependent on sales tax. It's sales tax driven.
All right, I know there's been a lot of talk about the Riverside Discovery Center. There was also a proposed aquatic park before the last election. Where do we stand on those two projects?
The aquatic park was tied into the LB 357. As you know, the voters voted that down. This is the second time they've voted 357 down. Maybe we'll take a look at putting that back on the ballot next year and focusing on specific projects, just street-driven projects that have an impact on the entire community. The aquatic center discussion continues. There's a group that is formed, and to continue to address that, their report should be coming soon, and we'll see what they have to say about that. As far as the Riverside Discovery Center, those negotiations continue. Again, to your prior question, the city is trying to work through the budget, seeing what kind of funds we have. And in the last agreement with the Discovery Center, it was a 10-year agreement. Tied us in there for $350,000, $3.5 million, 10 years. I'm not sure if the council will be willing to go that length on a contract again, but those negotiations continue.
Part of what can be difficult with the budget is that certain funds have to be used to pay for certain parts of the city's expenses.
Correct. Well, in a way, it's a good thing because revenues coming in from the utilities are all and environmental services are put into those funds. They're restricted for that, so they're never having to go and get money from other sources. They're paying their own way because we're charging for a service. The general fund, which again, police, fire, administration, parks, those things are driven by the sales tax fund. And so when that fund dips, you're either going to cut departments, cut staff, which we don't want to do, cut services, is the other option, or raise taxes.
Mhm.
But because we limited in the last election on the LB 840, we said only a portion of the sales tax could go into the general fund, of the property tax could go in the general fund. It's been capped. So that kind of tied our hands when the sales tax dipped. We were not able to pull more property tax dollars into the general fund to help fund that.
Mhm. Are there any proposed changes to the LB 840, or is that something that's continually being looked at?
It'll be, it's been voted in, it'll be there for some time. We've discussed maybe asking the voters to amend it. We're just kicking it around, we're kicking around all ideas. So,
Give us an update on the East Overland Revitalization Project.
well, the first portion of it was $150,000 that the city made a commitment to. And that money generated some substantial, it turned over in that community over $1 million in investments, from the dollars that not only what the city put in, but all the property owners who took advantage of the first round of that funding put in out of their own pocket. So the numbers we hear are generated, the dollars turned over 1.5 million. The city again made a commitment of another 100,000. All that money has been spoken for. Those projects are in process. They have a timeline completion date, I believe, by the end of the year. So if you've driven down there, you see it's a dramatic change, and it's just awesome. It's like the community's come back to life there on East Overland, that corridor.
So it's been a big factor for the neighborhood. They're seeing
Absolutely.
what's going on.
Absolutely. I think they're, just speaking with different folks, so the city has always talked about East Overland, never made a commitment down there, has done anything to help it. The city felt, we need to do something, and we did. A $250,000 investment down there.
As the population continues to change in the city, what benefits and what challenges do you see from those changes, and what have you seen in the area?
The population, I guess, if you're talking about the different, an aging population, a young population, population changes and ethnicity there's going to be challenges as we address the needs of the elderly. As our community continues to age, we're trying to bring in more young people to kind of help balance that, but all creating opportunities for the elderly to be able to do things, but at the same time trying to balance that out with amenities that attract young people here. So it's a continuum. The census next year is vital. It's critical. It'll help us shape some of that vision going forward.
Do you have any anticipation of what we're going to see on that census?
I think you're going to see your Hispanic population is going to be up substantially. I think you're going to see more elderly community has a more aging population there.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my guess. But we'll know when it's done, the numbers.
What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the city right now?
The budget. The budget is the most important thing. It is the number one thing that we need to work through right now. Once we get through that, if we could stabilize that, we will turn our focus to finishing the downtown plaza, which needs to be done. I think that's a great opportunity down there. You saw those bands that the city had encouraged down there. That's been a very successful. My trips down there, there's been a lot of people. It started with a small group. It's grown throughout the summer. So I think we need to finish those projects once we finalize the budget and get it stabled, and work on the 23 Club. That group has been phenomenal about going out and soliciting funding to help their project, and have raised a substantial amount of funds. They still need more, but those things are important. Finishing some projects, balancing the budget, and then kind of taking a step back and see what our next plan is. And the pathway north, as you know, was eliminated by the council, and so we want to make sure that at least that the remaining pathway sees its completion.
And a lot of the projects that you're talking about, they're more geared towards bringing younger people, younger families to the community.
I think that's part of it. It's also letting the current population take advantage of some things. The 23 Club, that building's been there, my understanding, several years, no renovations to it. It's just upgrading what we have, and the downtown plaza, encouraging business, making an investment in downtown and the community, providing a forum that people can take advantage of and invite bands, invite events downtown. That's what when we first started that project, that was the intent of it, that we could draw people downtown through events.
Scottsbluff's always been a community that's focused on tourism. What do you see that we can do to help promote the tourism in the area?
Well, you've seen an event going on right now with hosting the national balloon races. I mean, if you were out at the soccer field last night, there was a lot of people out there just watching that. The kickoff of the balloon races on Saturday evening. Those are the types of events that we're going to use to draw, working in conjunction with our fellow communities, the county tourism board, and just developing events. They've changed that the logo, not Nebraska, not for everyone. Those are we continue to work on those things. I think it's working in conjunction with our partner communities. If you're hosting an event in Scottsbluff, you try to involve the other communities to see how they get tier off of that and what they may have in their own community that can, an event that maybe partner or kind of shadow a main event that draws a lot of people in this community. We have the National Monument. We have some great assets here in western Nebraska, especially right in this area. And I think we just promote them more. We as individuals, though, when we travel and your families and whatever, family reunions, people come and they get to see and experience western Nebraska and these communities. And so that word just gets out. So when people come, those events are hosted. You try to make their experience as welcoming and as enjoyable as possible.
You referred a little bit to this, but we've got a few projects in the works where Scottsbluff and Gearing are working together. What do you see coming down the road where Scottsbluff and Gearing can work together, or even other communities in the area?
We've started the process of the landfill. That's going to be a joint project. That project was put in place several years ago. That is going to accelerate here as we identify certain pieces of land that may be eligible for a landfill, that will fit the criteria for a landfill. Some of that discussion is also surfaced about involving other surrounding sister communities to be part of that. To look at the bigger picture of a landfill for all of us, not just a couple of us. So, that's a partnership that's in place. We continue to work with the city of Gearing where we can on just, different things. We've looked at just sharing police forces, and we help each other in that sense. Shared fire services. When somebody's got an emergency, it's everybody comes. I've asked Mayor Kaufman in a couple conversations if we could look at potentially putting just a community, a group of just residents from both communities, just in a committee that just says, here's some things that you could be doing. Here's some recommendations where you could do more. Not take the whole political side of it and just let them, an independent group, come to the table and make some recommendations.
I know you've only been the mayor for 9 months, but when people look at your service, what do you want them to think of? Do you have anything in mind that you want people to remember you for, or a goal for yourself?
Well, this has been a very challenging time as mayor because of the changes that we've had in the council. We have 3 new council members, which is first at the same time, so it's working with them and getting them up to speed. Part of my approach as mayor is just letting people do their jobs. We have an excellent city manager. We have some great city staff, and it's just helping them and supporting them. Not always being the person who's in front of the microphone, but at times stepping back and letting them lead. A good leader to me is knowing when to just get out of the way and let people do their jobs. And so my goal, I guess, for myself is helping the city grow, seeing these projects to the end that we've got in play, and laying the groundwork for future projects, and getting more community involvement. That's critical. That's vital.
Thank you for your time, Raymond. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.